Chris, it's been a little while since we spoke to you, so I just wonder, in terms of team, injuries, anyone back from the last time we saw the squad?
Yeah, it's been a productive 2 or 3 weeks. I just said to the players, I feel, obviously coming in just before the Liverpool game, it was a bit hectic and had to obviously make some quick decisions and put our messages over pretty quickly. But I think we're in a real good place at the moment as a group of players, and the obvious answer to that is Tom Davies back on the grass, Reece Norrington-Davies played a game at Gillingham, Ryan Brewster more minutes inside him, a lot healthier, and the feel of the place is growing. I feel obviously the big challenge is taking that into Premier League games, as we totally understand. But I think it's been a really good couple of weeks for us. Getting back to winning ways, even though we understand the game at Gillingham was an FA Cup game against a team out of League Two. I totally understand that. But getting back that winning feeling and feeling a little bit better about ourselves individually and collectively was good, and we've built on that. We've not dived out to Dubai or anywhere sunny. We've really got our hands dirty over this last couple of weeks, and it's been a really good, positive couple of weeks that I've certainly enjoyed, and hopefully we can show that in our performances on Sunday and going forward.
Yeah, it sounds like the players have given you what you wanted as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as I said when I walked through the door, that the attitude and the personality of the team was good. I didn't have to go in and sort of decide who's with us and who's not. I think that is really important, that that we all are together. This club at its best has always been together and connected. So that was not an issue that I had to deal with, and healthy competition for places, good work on the training ground, and as I said, hopefully we can take that into the second part of the season.
What about the new face in Ben Brereton-Diaz? How's he settled in?
I always believe, and I do understand when people talk about January as a difficult window, and it has been, and no doubt I'll answer that question in time regarding any more business. But I always believe, bringing players in January, maybe 1 or 2 that we've tried to make the group look better, always livens everybody up. And certainly Ben coming in has certainly livened everybody up. We've been delighted with what he's produced on the training ground. We know a lot about him. I've tracked his career from a young boy at Nottingham Forest through to the work he did at Blackburn, and we're delighted to get his signature and get him over the line pretty quickly. So the introduction of him, and hopefully a couple before the window shuts, will make us stronger. And I'm sure, as we talked about with the likes of Tom Davies coming back, Reece Norrington-Davies, Ryan Brewster, other players coming back into the group, the signings of a couple of the younger boys as well, feel-good factor regarding that, we'll be in a better place when the window shuts than what it was when it opened.
Well, you've teed it up, so how close are you to getting those 1 or 2 players?
Yeah, I am, and we are quite frustrated because we felt we could have got them in for the weekend, but the deadline was 12 o'clock today, so we've just missed out. But we believe we've worked very hard and in identifying and working hard in terms of a couple of potential signings coming in before next week, which will, I always knew that it wasn't going to be, a huge window in terms of big numbers coming in. 2 or 3 was the targeted number, and I believe we will reach our targets. And off the back of that, there's some boys that have gone out as well.
Can you reveal what positions those 2 players might be?
No, I'm not going to. But we have to work hard as a football club to get those over the line, and hopefully we'll get the rewards for a lot of hard work that's gone into getting the players that we want.
There's obviously some interesting players all through the window. Your captain being linked with Napoli currently. Have you had any inquiries?
My take on that, and I spoke to Anel about it, and he's a really grounded individual, and he loves playing for Sheffield United. I always think that, you know, speculation regarding a good player is not a bad thing. You know, you'd rather be talked about than not talked about. So, as it always is, it is speculation, and I haven't been told from above that there's a potential deal in the offing. It's noise, which it is always, and everybody understands that when the window opens. But the player just has to get his head down and get on with being a really good professional, which he is, and putting in some top performances. And speculation, as we talked about, is for me, it shows that he's a good player, and good players have to deal with that.
I suppose you'd echo the words of the owner as well, that it would take a very good offer, would it, for anyone to be able to take what you're playing? Yeah,
we're protected, and we understand that we are in a position, as the majority of clubs are, that if anybody comes in with a decent offer, that might be considered. I think that's the way you know, 75-80% of football clubs work. But nothing's been said from above. We're confident we can hold on to the players that we've got, because we need all our best players for the second part of the season if we're going to produce performances, stroke results that will get us out of the position that we're in.
And I'll just finish then just with the final one on Hodzic. You obviously said you spoke to him. Obviously you'll be aware, I guess, the dangers that maybe talking about side could unsettle a player. You've got no concerns on that?
Well, 100%. He's a totally committed, as you'll see in his performance on Sunday. He's a totally committed performer. He's a great competitor, and he understands that. So there's been open dialogue between me and him right the way through this last couple of weeks, where there has been some speculation regarding it. I just said, reiterate that, you know, good players attract speculation. So I'm, you know, as far as I'm concerned, with Anel, it's onto businesses in terms of him producing a really good performance on Sunday afternoon. Cheers.
Chris, you mentioned earlier that you were hoping that there might be players in before the weekend. Does that mean that signings are quite close, and how close could they be done maybe next week? Yeah,
really close. You know, we've worked extremely hard in identifying them. You know, it is a difficult window to work in. I think you've seen there hasn't been a great deal of business at the top end. In identifying players, you know, are they available? Loans as well. I think we all understand that there wasn't going to be any permanent ones, and if they were, they'd be really good deals. But we've worked hard, position specific, to strengthen the group, and we believe when the window shuts, Rob, that the group will be a lot better in terms of competition for places, balance of the group from an attitude point of view, and I feel that we will be in a better position than we were when the window opened, and we're cracking on with it 24/7, and everybody's enthusiastic and committed into making that group stronger and better.
How much of your time does it take up during a month? You've just had 2 weeks to work with the players, but when you haven't been working with them, you've pretty much been on the phone.
Yeah, I do. I think, you know, when people talk about, you know, the life of a football manager, and I won't quote the club, but there was, you know, this new way of thinking. I think there's a questionnaire going out regarding one club that they're offering to their potential managers. What time do you start work and what time do you finish? There ain't a start time and there ain't a finish time. It's just as simple as that. So, you know, and obviously from our ownership point of view as well, you know, we have people situated all over the world as well. So it is always, whether it's outside the window, but more heightened and more concentrated, because you are and I am. I'm desperately keen to make this group better, and I do feel we are getting there. As I said to the players today, you know, it's we've accelerated this through. Now we have to marry that up with that performance level, and hopefully that'll add to our points total.
Do you think this time you've had to work with the players, plus the additions that you're going to make, is going to give you a really serious chance of getting out there?
We wouldn't have made, and I wouldn't have asked the club to make those make those decisions if I didn't think if I didn't think there was any fight left in us. There's a definite fight left in us, as I've seen in terms of the performances on the pitch. You know, I'm a little bit disappointed that because I think we're light on points over my period here, so we have to part that in a way and move on to that next game. There was always going to be that next game approach from myself. There's loads of fight left in us. There's definitely a huge fight left in myself and the coaching staff, and I'm seeing that in the players. I would be totally honest with you. If I didn't think that, then I would say to the board and the owner, you know, keep your powder dry. There's nothing left in us. I'll try and get as much out of this group as I possibly can through my experience, and we'll plan for another season in a different division. Now that might happen, another season in a different division, but it won't be through a lack of fight, commitment and effort from everybody at this football club, and that includes the supporters as well.
So you've used words like fight, commitment, connected, together. How do you retain that within a team when you're at the wrong end of the table? Because there's plenty of examples where that's not the case.
There's plenty of examples where teams have got out of really poor positions as well. So, you know, it's the same as when I was coming back. You know, I'll never go back, but there's loads of examples of managers that have gone back and made a success of it. So I think that, you know, this is an historic game that we're all involved in, and anybody can look at it from any part, from a statistical point of view. You know, we have to play still as well. You know, it's not just about a fight. It's not just about a commitment. It's not just about aggression and being competitive and being enthusiastic. There has to be a structure which we always have brought to whatever football club I've managed, and certainly this one. You know, in terms of the success that we've had, but the balance is that, and hopefully that will be shown in performances and in results, and starting whoever you're playing, whoever you're up against.
A couple of final ones on transfers. Quite an unusual situation where the Cardiff manager mentioned that Sheffield United might be in for Ryan Kent.
Yeah, it was a strange one. I saw that one. Yeah, I come across that one. So I don't know whether the Turkish connection and Fenerbahce and somebody's after moving a player on, but it's nothing that we've been interested in. So yeah, that was quite surprising. I was as surprised as possibly you were, and 30,000 Sheffield United fans were. And
just purely because when you think back to last summer, there were a couple of high-profile departures from Sheffield United. Is the club in a different position now with all this talk about Backman? Clubs do come in for your players. Are you in a stronger place to go now with the keep?
Absolutely, 100%, and you know, from an L's, you know, I'll stick. You know, if Kev wants to stick an L up here, and I'm sure he's got ambition. The player has ambition and wants to play at the highest level. You can't take that away from anybody, and I'll never stop anybody on that. But it has to be right for the football club, and you know, gaining the power back has always been something that I've been heavily committed to. Signing the younger players, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, the likes of Brooks signing, right, Antoine Ackford signing, you know, Danny Jebberson in talks, Arblaster in talks, nailing those boys down, nailing the other boys down that may be out of contract that I see are going to be part of the future going forward as well will be key as well. So bringing that power back to us and bringing sort of the how can I say it, our plan and our structure that we're trying to implement, and who's going to be on the journey going forward. So that was always going to be key. I understand, you know, I've been involved in a difficult situation before. You know, we were involved in the John Lundstrom situation, which was a really difficult one because Lunny was a committed player and he did great with us and he ran his contract down. And nobody wants to get to that position in that situation. Sometimes, though, you can't help in any way, and you're powerless to make that happen, really. But we don't want to get into that position, and we're talking about the young players and the length of contract they're signing, and an L. And if it does happen, then it happens, and everybody's happy with the situation. I don't want to lose my best players, but you know, speculation is rife about an L, and I understand that. As long as he gets his head down, which I 100% believe he will do, then it doesn't become an issue.
How close are you to potentially tying down the likes of Jefferson and Argos?
Yeah, really close. I think Jebo's house hunting in Sheffield, and Ollie. I've threatened him that his future's at Sheff United, so I think he's a little bit scared of me at the moment. So I'll just keep squeezing him until he signs a contract, but I'm sure he will do, because he's a young, talented boy. You know, we've had inquiries about him in terms of the Championship, but he's a player that we're really looking forward to working with. You know, I think you've seen the likes of Asula as well, the likes of Brooks, their impact that they've had on the first team and the experience that they've got. So the likes of them two and Jefferson and Arblaster and Reece Norrington Davis, you know, of course we're always looking. We're massively looking at the West Ham game. I get that, but there always has to be a medium and long-term plan. So I think the players are in a good place overall, and I think the club is in terms of, you know, making sure that we're secure going forward.
But finally on West Ham, it's always interesting when these two teams meet. What do you expect from this game?
Of course, a reaction from the cup defeat, and a manager that I believe doesn't get the credit and praise that he deserves. I think if you look back at David Moyes' career, what he did at Everton, you know, obviously from doing a fantastic job at Preston and getting the Everton job, and then being not out the top 6, not top 8 for about 4, 5 or 6 years. His recruitment, he got Everton and Everton got him, yeah, of course, people will talk about the times where it didn't go as well as David and the club he was managing would have liked, but you know, West Ham winning a European competition, you know, being in the top 6, the top 8 is an incredible achievement, because how difficult the Premier League is. So he's one that for me is somebody that I've always looked at and looked up to personally, and their position has been earned over the last 2 or 3 years. And it's been down to a lot of good things that the manager's implemented it, and his style and his fingerprints all over that football club.
Is it something, can you use them? I know that obviously they've achieved a lot, haven't they, winning Europe and stuff like that. Is there something to learn from them? Because they were up and down for a while, weren't they, between? Yeah,
all I would say though, Rob, is that they were an established. You know, they did come out of the Premier League and dropped into the Championship and got themselves up, but they've always been, you know, a pretty established Premier League club for quite a number of years, and obviously the advantages and the power that gives the football club to move forward. So they've had a platform and a base, but it still has to be managed. And when it doesn't go right like it did, they have to have somebody that comes and rescues the situation. You know, I think it was talked about, you know, when I think I last signed my contract and we beat them 1-0 at our place, the position that West Ham were in at that particular moment, and who would have said that maybe in the next 2 or 3 years that he'd won a European competition and been in and around the top 6 to get into Europe, to win that competition and go again like they're doing this year. Cheers, Rob.
Still on West Ham, Chris, how do you go about approaching a game like this? Because you mentioned the job David Moyes has done, they've been successful in Europe, they're now 6th in the Premier League. They seem to be one of those teams with a steeliness about them that aren't going to be bullied, so how do you approach it?
Well, we're not going to get bullied as well, so listen, as always, a plan to implement what we're about, and a respect of what strengths that they possess. You know, and I think there's been a lot of talk about their injuries. You know, I think we had 14 unavailable for the Gillingham game, and we've had a lot of good players, really key important players out for, I would say, the majority of the season. The likes of Egan, the likes of Basham, the likes of McBurney not being available, Brewster, all relatively big players. Tom Davis, big players for our football club. So, and as that was said in the cup game, they had 11 internationals out on the pitch on the midweek game. So whatever team that turns up, it'll no doubt be wanting to get back to winning ways in the Premier League. So strengths and weaknesses assessed as much as the assessment into us will be done by them. And but we've got to make sure that we're bang at it and we produce a front-footed, full throttle performance. And I believe we can, and I believe we can cause problems.
And on Tom Davis, Norrington Davis and Brewster, arrows obviously pointing upwards. How many of them are in contention?
Yeah, 2 out of the 3. Like new signings, Rich, for me. Just those boys getting integrated back into training and just seeing them improve and step forward. They are like new signings. So I look at that, and I look at Barrett and Diaz as 4, and maybe a couple of others. You know, we'll possibly have 6 players that's coming back into the group, which, you know, for us makes an absolute huge difference, because they're all proper footballers. Well, we believe they're proper footballers as well, that will make us better and stronger, more competition to the group. And I think the other players see that as well. They're delighted to see the likes of Tom coming back in and Reece coming back in and Rian being sharp in training. Of course, my job is to manage the load and to not to re-injure, because that is huge, that they don't find themselves back in the treatment room and on the physio table. So key is to making sure that I get the balance right, and we get the balance right in terms of the work that they do and the minutes that are involved. But for Reece to play, you know, near on a full game at Gillingham was brilliant, and a brilliant reward, because there was questions over his future. The likes of Rian coming on for 25 half an hour at Gillingham was great, and you know, the other players see that and are genuinely delighted that those boys are back and in the fold.
And just finally from me on Will, I know you were impressed with the way he started once you returned. How big a moment was it for him against Chelsea?
Yeah, he's got to balance that up, because his performances have been fabulous for a young boy. You know, the likes, his first outing for me is up against Van Dijk, then he's playing at Chelsea. You know, then he's, you know, even when you're playing against Brentford, against me and Pinnock, you know, they're outstanding competitors, and you know, he's had some great tests so far, but he's judged as well as his play out of possession, his play in possession. He's judged and will want to score goals, and great for him to, you know, the goals hasn't changed, the finishes haven't changed, you know, regardless if that's in the Premier League or whether it's in a cup tie, he still has to be finished off, and we're all delighted that he managed to do that and get his goals that his play has deserved.
Thank you.
Cheers, Rich.